Hey everybody, this is me, Undead Viking. One of the very first ever, Euro games I ever played was, well, I guess technically Arkham Horror has some Euro elements to it, but one of the first true Euro games I ever played was Kingsburg. Somebody suggested it to me and said, hey, it's like this really cool game where you're going to be rolling dice, and then you're going to be using those dice to collect things. And I was like, now I'd be like, oh, okay, I kind of understand it. By the time I was like, what? So I didn't really understand exactly what the game was going to be, but I really enjoyed it. And since then I've played other, worker placement games that use dice as the mechanism, and I've really enjoyed those, they all kind of fit like a little family, and whenever I'm presented with a new version of that type of game, I'm always really excited to play it, because I always find them to be a lot of fun. So, it gives me great pleasure then to talk to you about this game. It is called Cavern Tavern. This is a dice worker placement game. You and the other players are working in a tavern. You have a jerk for a boss who is this dwarf that's right there, and he is a harsh taskmaster, and he's trying to get you to trying to get you to serve the adventurers, the visitors to Cavern Tavern as quickly as possible, get them out the door so he can make money, and then theoretically you'll get points for that, and then you will be the best worker for him if you manage to do the best job over the course of 10 turns. So let me take some time here to show you how to play the game, and then we'll come back here and I'll talk more about why I like Cavern Tavern. Alright, this is the game board for Cavern Tavern. If I can just say one quick thing about it, I really love this game board. A lot of times when worker placement games or Euro games or whatever, a lot of the stuff is a little bit vague, and there's just symbols and stuff like that, so when you stare at the board it's really tough to figure out exactly what's going on. You have to refer to the rule book until you're very familiar with it. I cracked open this this board here, and I was able to see right away from the get-go pretty much how everything worked. It's these were obviously the numbers for the dice, then you roll that, you put the die there, you take that action. These were the totals of the dice over here: 16, 18, 14, so on and so forth, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. So it popped, it made sense. There's these things over here that you can see there's numbers on there, and I was a little bit curious, but then I realized that was the number of players. It's 2 to 5 players, and that kind of lets you know how many locations are available to take those spots. So I really love how the game looks. It was a very pleasant thing to find when I opened up the board. Notice this is a prototype, so this might not be completely representative of what the game is going to look like once it is published, but if they improve on it, it's already really awesome as it is. But anyway, regardless, at the beginning of the game, as I said, you are all employees of the Cavern Tavern. You're working for this jerk boss called Nasty Dwarf, and you are trying to complete orders and basically become the best possible employee of this guy so he can heap his praise or whatever on you, and basically so he doesn't destroy you or fire you or what have you. So it is, as I said, a dice worker placement type Euro game, and how the game works is at the very beginning of the game, each player gets one of these player mats. Let me just take these real quick. The player mats are going to just be a thing to keep all your information on there. Your dice that you roll will place there. This is your active order that you got to make and give out to the person that's come to the Cavern Tavern for their meal or the drink or whatever. As you collect ingredients, you'll put them over here. The ingredients are those cards that are right over there. And this part of the board is where you roll to get those ingredients. I'll show that to you in just a little bit. And then finally, this Nasty Dwarf says location. Every once in a while, if you get in the Nasty Dwarf's bad graces, he will task you with something bad, and then you have to, that card goes there until you can get rid of it. These are the 3 different boards, reputation boards type of things, that as you do things, you will go down or up on these little tracks. The nasty one is actually bad. You can notice there's these little minuses here. As you go down on this, you will get negative points. So if you're all the way at the bottom, you'll have negative 18 points at the end of the game if you're there. At the 3, 6, and 9 location, there's this little D there. That means you have to draw one of those cards that the Nasty Dwarf says, and basically that gives you that negative thing that happens. The kitchen and chores, as you go up, it's actually a good thing. You become better at doing kitchen or the chores for the Cavern Tavern. At level 3, In both tracks, you get a +2 bonus to your points when you do a kitchen or chores action. Sometimes there'll be cards that have kitchen or chores in them, but you don't get the bonus points there. Only when you do a kitchen or chores action. And then here, it's +3. And then here it's +4 on both maps. And here you can see there's a die there. So when that gives you some variability. It allows you to affect one die +1 or -1, like pip. So like a 3 could be a 2 or a 4, and either of those. And then over here it's plus or -2. So like as you get better, it's kind of like return rewards as far as with those. And you just get these little tokens that you place on those tracks, and you just keep track of those. As the game is played. And so everybody's going to have one of those player mats. It works really well. So there you go. At the beginning of the game, everybody will take their 4 dice and they'll roll them. Whatever they roll, they'll get those ingredients as their starting ingredients. And you'll just have those. I'm not going to collect them right now. I'm just showing you how the game is played. Each one of these ingredients places has 2 options when you're on there. 2 is syrup or rocks. You get to pick which one. 4 is wine or elixir. So if you roll 2 4s, you could take a wine, elixir, or 2 wine, 2 elixir, that sort of thing. 5 is ambrosia or beer. And you just choose those. And so you get those starting ingredients to start with the game, and then each person is going to get a Nasty's Secret Tasks card. This is just something here. It says for every 3 spirit ingredients you serve, you receive 3 points at the end of the game. So like you're going to want to focus on orders that have those 3 those spirits or whatever. So you determine a first player. However, you're going to determine, and you keep this obviously. You keep it like kind of underneath your board there. Don't show that to anybody because then they can try to block you from getting those points. Whoever the first player is, they're going to take their dice, they're going to roll them, and actually, technically, everybody rolls their dice at the exact same time, and then they put them in their little dice part. If you are the last player in the round, you get the extra 5th die. You get a white die that you add, and you get to include that with your dice. So just, there is if you are last, because obviously places are going to get used up, and so they give you the extra die for something. So so you roll all the dice, and you go ahead and you put them right there, and now you're going to be able to use those on your turn. At the very beginning of the game, at the very beginning of the turn, I should say, if you don't have an order on your board, you have to take an order. You have to choose one of the orders that is out there. You can compare it to the ingredients that you have and see if it's something you think you can make. You kind of can plan out your turn at this point. So once you take an order, so let's just say you're going to take this order. This is the Blue Lagoon, and so you need an elixir, a mead, a syrup, a fruit, an ambrosia, and a spirits. And once you have all those, then you can return it. Now you'll notice that there's a big 21 here. You get 21 points for doing the order. So, but here you see this +1, +2, +3, and so on and so forth, +6. That's the number. That's how many turns if you don't serve it the turn you take the order, then it's +1, so it's only worth 15, and then like 2 turns later it's only worth 10, and so forth. You can't get once it gets to here, it's just worth -21 points because you failed to serve the order, and the customer is left, and Nasty's upset with you. So you'd place that there. Now the other thing you do to kind of mark the fact that you took that, you're going to place that person that's representing you, and you're going to take, and if you look at this, there's a clock here for 22, 22:20, 22:40, and so on and so forth. The game lasts 10 turns. So you take your clock that says 22 on there, and you place that on that location to show that you took this order at that time, and now you're going to try to get that fixed. So then, after you take the order, that's when you're going to start, placing your dice onto the board to try to grab different things. So you could grab, depending on the ingredients that you had, you could put your dice, you can go ahead and put a die. Oh, that was a 4, I'm sorry. Put a 4 there, and then you can go ahead and take it. Now, you'll notice that there's a 2, 3, 4, 5 in every one of these. So if there's 2 players, there's only 1 spot. If there's 3 players, there's 2 spots, and so on and so forth. And so you can fill that up. There's basically 1 less spot per player. Now, there is a chance that, because these are finite, these ingredient cards over here, there's a chance that if you try to take an ingredient that the card is not present, you won't be able to take that particular ingredient until somebody else turns in an order that has that ingredient, because once you turn in the order, you put the ingredients back. Something to keep in mind. You can get a hold of magic potions. That if you get a hold of those can be used as kind of a wild card item, and that allow you to replace those ingredients using those. So just quickly, so once you turn those in, you can turn an order anytime. There isn't an action space to turn an order. Once you have the ingredients, you turn it in, you get the points. It's simple as that. And then just obviously just move up the track on there. So other than that, just some of the recipes won't just give you points. They'll have things like this. Well, it'll say there's the K there. A Shot of Ice and Fire. If you complete this, you will get a track on the kitchen. You get to go up a level on your kitchen track, and that means you get an item. So you draw something from the item deck, and so the item deck just has things that'll help you, break the rules and things like Dwarven Helmet. Notice the prototype. There's no artwork. Use this card to exclude yourself from drawing a card from the Nasty Dwarf Says deck. So it's just something like that allow you to break the rules. And items are never a bad thing. It's a good thing to have them. Once you turn in the order, that's when you will place the order and replace the one that was on there. Note that if you have to take an order and you don't like any of them that are out there, you can choose to take the top order off of the deck and go ahead and claim that. And so you can if you and just take your chances, obviously, with the one that's there. So other places on the board are basically they're chores in the kitchen, but also there's these two other places, or I should say 3 other places here. You can place if you have 3 dice. And you desperately need an ingredient that you can't get a hold of, you can put 3 dice on this spot, and you can get a magic potion, and that's obviously the magic potion that's over there. Items over here, you put 2 dice on those locations. There's 1 spot for 2 to 3 players. There's 2 spots for 4 or 5 players, and then you draw 3 cards. You pick one of those items, and then you and then you reshuffle the entire deck. So you get to, so that's kind of nice because you get to pick one of 3 that you want, and so you can always make sure you pick something good. The other spot here is talk to Nasty. So you go into his office and you basically kiss his butt, and you talk yourself up. And if you've gone down on this track, you can push yourself back up by 1 spot by going up and being nice to Nasty. And also at the same time, you can trash on one of your other players, and you can force their reputation with Nasty to go down. And so obviously that's a pretty cool thing. Now notice, remember I said if you get down to -3 and you have to draw one of these cards, here it says dirt everywhere, what are you doing? You call this a clean floor? Go back 1 position on the chores track. So that's something. And some of the other ones actually kind of go up the works a little bit. And let me grab some of these here and I can just show you. So you can have help out, give 2 ingredient cards of your choice to the last player that is positioned last in the victory track. Or here's one that says complete 1 kitchen task before doing anything else. You don't receive the rewards from that task. So there's stuff like that really can mess up what you're trying to accomplish and kind of pin your ears back a little bit. The chores and the kitchen tasks, those have the 16, 18, 12, 14, and these numbers. You have to have that total on your particular dice. So these 3 here are 13. You could put them on this location, and there's only spot for 1 person each to do these things, and then you get the rewards for doing it. So in this case, if you put wash the dishes, it's a kitchen track, so you go up 1 on your kitchen track for doing it, and then you get an elixir, you get an item, and you get 6 points for doing it. And so, and obviously, if you get really good rolls, 17, you get a mead. You get to steal an item from somebody else. So you just steal an ingredient or whatever from somebody else. You get an item, and you get 10 points. And so as you climb up the ladder on those things, obviously, you get more and more, on those particular tracks. And don't forget that if you increased your rep with those things, you get bonus points for doing them. So even the ones that, the low point ones, 2 points or whatever, you get up to +2, you get 4 points and things like that. And so if you're having trouble getting your orders done, maybe you'll take really simple orders, just the Shot of Ice and Fire, which are just rocks, elixir, and ambrosia. Well, that might be easier to take care of, but then you can focus on getting these chores or kitchen tasks done. Pretty simple. Now, if the turn ends, everybody goes, and everybody places their die 1 by 1, and they take their rewards and take their actions. If a turn ends and you didn't complete an order, you automatically go down 1 on the reputation track for not completing an order, because Nasty wants you to be getting stuff done, and if you're not doing a good job, he starts giving you the stink eye. But as I said, then you just slowly move up the ladder. Once you get done with all 10 turns, the Cavern Tavern closes. And pretty simply, everybody that you're just going to go ahead and total up your points, and whoever has the most points is going to win the game. When you get to that point where you finish the game, don't forget to minus your points from how poorly Nasty thinks of you. Remember, even level 1 means you're getting -1 point. So, I mean, you most likely you're going to lose a few points. It's pretty rare that if anybody... I haven't had a game yet where everybody was able to just totally be in the good graces of Nasty. So make sure you do that. If you don't have an open order, meaning that like you closed out your last order on the last turn, you get 1 bonus point for each ingredient you have. If you have an open order, you don't get those bonus points. And then make sure if you have an uncompleted Nasty Dwarf Says card on your board, that's worth -10 points. And obviously go ahead, whatever your secret task is. So we'd look and see how many orders we had that had spirits, and we gained 3 bonus points for each one of those. So make sure you do all that. And then, of course, whoever, as I said, has the most points will win the game. I love these types of games. I love worker placement games. I love dice worker placement games because I like the randomness of it. And this was a different one because, like, obviously, like, Kingsburg is kind of like the granddaddy of these types of games, so I enjoyed the fact that this has a fantasy feel, but it wasn't like strict fantasy. It was like a fantasy tavern, if you will. And it was more of, there's more interaction here with just kind of like the other players, just messing with, talking trash to each other and things like that. And the mood of the game was very indicative of the theme, and that's something I really enjoyed about the game as well. But let me talk more about that in my conclusion, which I will do right now. This box is really flimsy, so I'm not going to throw it. I feel like it's going to fall apart if I even handle it a little difficult. So I apologize, no box flip, like you care. But anyway, so there you go. That was the Cavern Tavern. I hope you enjoyed learning how to play that game. This isn't, I'm not going to say it isn't new territory because, there are some aspects of this game that I really enjoyed that I hadn't seen in some games prior to this, like in this type of genre. But I mean, if you've played a Kingsburg, if you've played an Alien Frontiers, that sort of game, you're going to be kind of in that nice warm water, if you will, that comfortable bath, the comfort food zone, if you will, for this type of game. You're going to have this game click for you. Now, I have introduced this game to people, like my family, just totally unbeknownst to them, and it's like, oh yeah, and they hadn't played those types of games before, and they took to it rather quickly. I mean, like I said, there's something fun about rolling the dice. There just always is. You roll those dice, and then you figure out your turn. That's why I like games like this. It's like, oh, I really need to get, I really need some wine, I need some herbs, and, plus I really like to get some kitchen tasks done. Okay, so roll the dice. Now, figure out how I'm going to do that with the dice that I rolled. Oh, is there a kitchen task that will give me some of those ingredients so I don't have to waste my time doing something else? What is the person in front of me going to play? Are they going to try to block me with their action? And things like that. It's like the game kind of each turn becomes a little tiny puzzle that you kind of put together, and you try to just extract the most points out of each one of those little puzzles that you face over the 10 turns. And, I just like it. The game is fun, the game is straightforward, and it's highly, highly enjoyable. I love, as I said, the theme is really brought out by the look of the game, the feel of the game, like the flavor text of the game. And, a lot of times, like, when we play games like this, like, the flavor text is one of those things where you just kind of, like, you read it, and whatever. But here, like, whenever I played it, I mean, even with my hardcore game group, it was something where, like, we had a little zest and flair of trying to talk like a really angry dwarf when like, Nasty Dwarf Says, I'm a little bit thirsty, make me a grape of thrones and hurry up. But like he tells you to go make him a drink, and you can't do anything else until then, and so it was something where we, we bought into it, if you will. And obviously, I'm a big fan of immersion. I'm not a fan of abstractism for games, and any type of immersion that can suck me in to make me feel the course of the game, feel the theme of the game, is very welcome for me. And this game does a great deal of that. Frankly, I mean, if you are a fan of this genre of game, I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't want to put it on your shelf. If the idea of like a dice Euro intrigues you, this would be an excellent game for you to start off that part of your collection, and then work to the many different other options that you have available to you. So there you go. I recommend it very, very much so. So check it out. You can go check out the Kickstarter page and see what Cavern Tavern's like. You can go to the BG Board Game Geek page as well and check that out. If you have any questions for me, go ahead and ask away. I'll be happy to answer those to the best of my ability. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I am the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.